Few filmmakers have captured the imaginations of audiences like Stanley Kubrick. Even more than a decade after his death, his films keep provoking debate and critique from viewers young and old. This series of videos will look at the ideas, shots, and motifs that Kubrick used repeatedly in all of his films. Well, mainly from Lolita to Eyes Wide Shut. And just before we begin, I would like to cite two inspirations for this project. One is author Michel Simon, and the other British filmmaker Rob Ager. Their thoughts and analysis spurred me to try my own hand at investigating Kubrick's works. If you enjoyed these videos, I recommend that you look both of them up. So, after all that, let's get started. Secrets kill. The consequences of secrets or classified information were demonstrated in the majority of Kubrick's films. They could be personal secrets, like Jack not telling Wendy that there was a murder-suicide at the Overlook, or Alice and Bill Harford hiding their sexual attractions for other people. There could also be massive secrets, like a nation's nuclear launch capabilities, or the discovery of alien life. The problems that arise in Dr. Strangelove are created by Cold War secrecy and a lack of open communication between the US and the USSR. This paranoia leads to arms races and the creation of the Doomsday Machine.
Whole point of the Doomsday Machine is lost. If you keep it a secret, why didn't you tell the world, eh?
It was to be announced at the party congress on Monday. As you know, the Premier loves surprises.
If the Soviet Union had quickly revealed that they made the Doomsday Machine, then maybe even Crazy Ripper wouldn't have launched an attack. In 2001, the Discovery crew are trained separately and given different facts concerning their mission to Jupiter.
For instance, the way all our preparations were kept under such tight security, and the melodramatic touch of putting Doctors Hunter, Kimball, and Kaminsky aboard, already in hibernation after 4 months of separate training on their own.
Out of the entire crew, only Hal is given the entire mission objective, and becomes paranoid that his human crew might screw things up if he is shut down. This motivates him to kill the entire crew to ensure a successful mission and his own survival. Now, if all parties were trained and told the truth about the monolith before they launched, then none of the crew would have to be paranoid and likely would have made it to Jupiter alive. In The Shining, Jack Torrance is told by Mr. Ullman about the Grady killings, and he never brings it up to the attention of his wife Wendy. Danny, though he has the shining visions of the murder at the Overlook, never informs his mother about it either. If Wendy was ever told about the real history of the Overlook, I doubt she would have ever agreed to the move. Full Metal Jacket shows how the culture of false information and propaganda lead to the overconfidence of the US military before the Tet Offensive. If US forces listened to warnings about the impending attack, then it likely would not have been as successful. Finally, in Eyes Wide Shut, after his wife reveals her secret lust for another man, Dr. Harford travels around New York in search of revenge sex. The secrecy and paranoia in Bill's marriage nearly cost him his life with the HIV-positive hooker and the Long Island orgy. After many failed attempts and threats to his and his family's lives, he returns home a broken man. The film is about a married couple struggling to reach complete honesty with each other and for the first time achieving a happy relationship.
My mind is going.
Characters suffering from mental breakdown or manipulation pop up in several Kubrick films. Characters that fall into the breakdown category have to be General Ripper's madness caused by his impotency, Hal becoming homicidal, and Jack's cabin fever. The more intriguing category of mental manipulation occurs in A Clockwork Orange and Full Metal Jacket. These two films show subjects mentally broken down by authorities and turned into somebody new. The funny thing is that the authorities are after two different results. In A Clockwork Orange, the state wants to transform their violent killers into harmless civilians. In Full Metal Jacket, the state wants to transform their harmless civilians into violent killers. Kubrick shows two different examples of brainwashing, but believes they share the same terrible end result for its subjects: suicide. Machines fail. Kubrick showed many of his characters having to deal with mechanical or medical failures in his films. Most of these failures either cause a character's death or near death.
Nicky was dead at 4:24.
Still negative function. The Teleflex drive cable must be sheared away.
Stay on the bomb run, Ace. I'm going down below and see what I can do.
Roger.
We should advise you, however, that our preliminary findings indicate that your onboard 90000 computer is in error predicting the fault. I say again, in error predicting the fault.
So now you have the same reaction to music as you do to sex and violence.
No, Mrs. You see, it's not all music. It's just the ninth.
You mean Beethoven's Ninth Symphony?
That's right. I can't listen to the ninth anymore at all. When I hear the ninth, I get like this funny feeling.
Don't turn it off! Please, turn it off!
Sir Richard, this pistol must be faulty. I must have another one.
I'm sorry, Lord Bullingdon, but you must first stand your ground and allow Mr. Linden his turn to fire.
I think this shows that Kubrick was critical of human dependency on technology. That with all these new 20th century machines that are made to make life easier for man, it actually makes man weaker, and in the end, easier to kill. Authority figures are perverts. Kubrick always showed examples of the exploitation and abuse of young people in his films. From his first film, Fear and Desire, to his last film, Eyes Wide Shut.
Doctor, you mentioned the ratio of 10 women to each man. Wouldn't that necessitate the abandonment of the so-called monogamous sexual relationship? I mean, as far as men were concerned.
Regrettably, yes. But it is, a sacrifice required for the future of the human race.
I must confess, you have an astonishingly good idea there, Doctor.
Thank you, sir.
And I'm warning you, little Alex, being a good friend to you as always, the one man in this sore and sick community who wants to save you from yourself.
All right. Good morning, little schoolgirl. I'm a little schoolboy, too. What you got there, Chief?
Do you want number one, Funky?
Oh, yeah. Hey, you boys want number one, Funky?
And by the way, if the good doctor himself should ever want anything again, anything at all, it needn't be a costume.
I don't know if he was trying to say anything beyond that abuse is a terrible thing and should be stopped. Or perhaps that anyone with power will likely abuse it to satisfy their own carnal desires.